Hi, it's Rich Tehrani in the TMC newsroom, and today we're speaking with Ian Locke, who's with envivio. How are you, Ian?
I'm well.
Good.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your company, please.
So, envivio is a company that has pioneered the development of advanced video compression technology, which we now sell to provide encoding solutions for 3 screens. That's mobile TV, internet TV, and IPTV.
And how old is the company?
9 years old now.
And you started out with a video player, right? Is that correct?
All manner of... We helped develop the actual MPEG-4 standard. So 4 of our founding engineers and the founders actually developed or assisted in developing the MPEG-4 standard, of which there was player technology, server technology, all sorts of things. But really what we found we were able to productize and make into a growing business is the encoder technology. And because we have this underlying ability to work with the codecs, to develop our own codecs, it's given us the flexibility to push some of the envelope in terms of what's possible with video compression.
That's great. So tell me more about pushing the envelope. What does that mean exactly?
Okay, so we are the only company to have a single encoder solution, a box, that what we sell is a box that video source goes into in various formats, and it will in real time dynamically convert that, compress that, transcode that into the formats, the various codec combinations that you need to be interoperable with all of the different kinds of client devices out there. So even with IPTV, there's a few different standards you need to work with IPTV, but with Internet TV, of course, there's 3 or 4 different kinds of player technology people want to interoperate with, including now the new Silverlight technology and so on. And then, but where it really becomes important is in the mobile, where all of the different mobile phones have different capabilities of resolution, frame rate, decode capability, combinations of video and audio codecs. And we are the only company that has an encoder that can in real time create simultaneous transcodes of the source content into formats that will play back to give the optimal experience on the different client handsets.
Are you seeing 264 as a big standard in what you're doing?
It absolutely is the highest end of the codecs, and if you have a fancy enough phone that has a good decoder inside it, then H.264 is the way to go. What we're showcasing for the first time at this show is something to address the issue that most of the phones, at least 40% of the mid-range phones out there, do not have enough grunt to decode H.264. So what we do instead is we've developed something called our Elite codec, which technically is not standard, but plays on standard players. So to the operator, they don't need a special player inside the handset. They don't need to push out new software onto the handsets. They can use the standard player and get something very close to an H.264 decode, but on phones that maybe only an ARM9 kind of phone that does not have the extra power. If you're up on like an ARM11 or anything that has a dedicated decoder, then you can do full H.264. But there's an awful lot of phones out there and an awful lot of phones that operators would like to sell TV services to that we have now enabled by doing our Elite codec.
Now, what about bandwidth issues? How are operators dealing with that challenge of just not having the bandwidth, or at least consistent bandwidth where someone's driving and the choppiness?
Well, especially if you look at mobile TV, there's always been an issue of how will we most cost-effectively use the bandwidth. And one of the technologies that's been addressed for that is mobile broadcast. So mobile broadcast, as opposed to mobile streaming, uses an out-of-band spectrum with a separate radio, and so that includes standards like DVB-H, ISDBT, CMMB, all of which we develop products for. And the one that's most commonly known here in the US is the Flow service.
Sure.
So that's one way of solving the bandwidth. But that's got a lot of limitations. What we find is most of our operators like the flexibility of being able to use the IP transport. So what we do instead is give them the maximum picture quality for the amount of bits they have. And we also have technologies such as network-aware rate control that allow the bandwidth being utilized by the video to take into account any packet overhead. Now, if you're looking at something that's less than 100 kilobits per second stream, and you have packet overheads of maybe 20 or so kilobits per second, we're talking about improvements of 20 and 30% by being able to adjust the video bit rate inside knowing what size the packet overhead is going to be. I think there's a white paper on our website about it somewhere.
Fantastic. Okay, and how would people find that white paper?
Well, envivio.com.
Okay.
www.
And then look for white papers
Yes.
or do a search or something like that. Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. So in terms of adoption of the different flavors of media and video, how do we in the U.S. Compare to the rest of the world?
Okay. Almost all of the services that you can get in the US are being provided by third-party companies to the operators, and that's okay. We work with those third-party content aggregators and service providers, but in most of the rest of the world, those services are being provided directly by the operator. The operator builds their own video infrastructure, they buy the products from us, they do the content licensing deals, and they provide a branded service under the name of their telephone company. One of our most successful would be Orange in Europe. Orange restarted their mobile TV service about 2 years ago. They now have well over 1 million subscribers. The minimum you pay for the mobile TV service in France, which is a flat rate service, is €6 per month. But the average, and it's well over 1 million subscribers, is €9 per month. So they are earning over 100 million euros a year from their mobile TV service, and they've talked about this as being a significant contribution to their business.
From a competitive standpoint, what are you seeing as the biggest challenge?
Okay, so we're fairly fortunate in mobile TV that we have been doing this so much longer than everyone else, like 5 years developing mobile TV encoders, that we have, according to some analysts, north of 75% market share. So if you've seen live TV on the mobile phone, chances are it came from envivio. What's important, I think, is where we see competition is sometimes the operators not being very certain about what kind of video services will generate money. I think that operators sometimes approach us and say they would like to generate money off user-generated content, which I think that there are many companies in the user-generated content business that would like to know how to make money out of user-generated content. So if the operators can figure it out, that would be...
I think the leaders in the space actually
can't make money off it.
Yeah, so interesting point.
And similarly, we've been told for a long time about how lucrative the long tail was going to be. Okay? And again, similar to user-generated content, the long tail, people will watch Gilligan's Island, but they will not pay money for it, So what we are able to point to is services now, and we've got a couple of dozen very successful operators. We're deployed in more than 80 operators around the world, but we've really had some very good traction with about a dozen or so operators who have focused on delivering live TV services. The more you make your TV service, on whatever device it is, look like a premium cable or satellite digital TV service, even if it's on a small screen, people say, well, that's going to be a different usage model. Maybe it is, although from what we're understanding, from looking at analysis of usage is trending towards a more sit-down and experience, whether it's in a car, whether it's on transport, or whether it's just having a personal media experience. And the more you make it look like a cable or satellite, basic channel lineup, premium channel options, and so on, the more you are able to get people to pay you a regular, monthly, decent ARPU.
So basically we need to recreate what people are familiar with paying to the cable companies right on the mobile phone.
That is our experience.
And that makes a lot of sense. So you don't want to retrain people.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I think that we've heard so many different business models out there, and either, there's a lot of technology that has to be developed to make those possible, and even some of the ones that have been rolled out, they just don't get the traction.
So what's the biggest mistake you've seen operators make? You don't have to name names, but...
Yeah. Definitely not naming names, but quality of experience. And that quality of experience comes down to, you must get good content that's worth watching. Okay, people will only pay money if it's content that's worth paying money for. The quality of the video and the audio experience, and of course that's where we come in, and then the pricing structure as well. So what they're paying for that content must be a flat rate pricing structure. As I said, in France it's a sort of a €6 up to about a €21 price band, and it averages at about €9. But you can't have based on usage, because then people will worry about how many minutes they've been watching. So if you take into account giving a good service of content that's worth watching for a price that's worth paying, you're successful.
So you've pointed to Orange a few times. Are there any other carriers that are doing it?
Oh, yes.
Right?
Oh, yeah. PCCW in Hong Kong has got a very successful service there. We have the operators here in North America, such as MobiTV and Quick Play, I think, are doing it right. They offer the service as a service over to the service providers themselves, which, as I said, that's a little different than from some other parts of the world. We have, in India, we have Reliance in India, a very successful service there. Telstra in Australia, very successful service. Again, over at our booth we have an enormous map of all our operators. I think I've got it on the website somewhere, and it's more than 80 operators that are deploying. And like I said, if you follow the simple rules, you make money.
Fantastic. So I'm a carrier, I'm watching this,
yeah,
and I'm thinking of calling. What is the reason to pick up the phone right this moment and give you a call?
Okay. The reason to pick up right now is that the sooner you get into the media business, and this is the important thing to understand, is you're getting into the media business, the more experienced you will be, and the smarter you will be at doing your content deals, at promoting a different kind of business than you've been in before. We're not talking about promoting minutes or promoting telephone calls. We're talking about promoting an entertainment experience or a consumption experience, and the sooner you get into that, the more experienced people, and this has been true for all of the IPTV and the Internet TV, the early adopters, the early movers are the ones that now have the experience and are now driving the rest of the marketplace to play catch up.
So that's it. It's really the first mover
advantage for getting that experience. I mean, I think in this environment, we've also got the in the current economic environment, we're getting people coming back to us and taking advantage of the fact that they want to do more than one screen. They want to do not just mobile, but internet and IPTV. And traditionally, that meant 3 silos of equipment, 3 sets of system integrators, 3 OPEXs and CAPEXs to maintain. And we're able to go in and provide a single platform that can do all of that. And that makes it very simple for them. So we've got some operators right now that are moving on our platform because of this, not only a simplification of the technology that's needed to provide it, but saving as well.
That's great. We've been speaking today with Ian Locke, who's with envivio. Ian's been telling us a little bit about the opportunities for carriers in video on basically any screen, right? The home, the mobile screen.
And the PC, yeah, absolutely.
That's great. My name is Rich Tehrani, reporting from the TMC Newsroom. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.